Cowboys' first preseason game has come and gone. The Cowboys fell 16-3 to the Pittsburgh Steelers in Thursday night's Hall of Fame game. However, still plenty of good things to take away. Welcome into Special Edition alongside Barry Church. I'm Dani Sureck. The best part about Thursday's game for the Cowboys, they came away healthy. We didn't see a lot of starters out on the field, and the few that we did see, we didn't see them get a lot of snaps. So taking that into consideration, Barry, what were your first impressions of this team?
I'm going to be honest. On the defensive side of the ball, I was extremely impressed with our first-round pick, 12th overall, Micah Parsons. Going into this game, I thought, all right, maybe the coaches put a little bit too much on his plate. They had him rushing at defensive end. They had him at all three linebacker positions. I just thought as a young guy coming in, that might be a little bit too much for him to comprehend, but he seemed to be able to take it in stride out there. I mean, he was rolling all over the field, sideline to sideline. He ended up scooping up a fumble, getting a takeaway as well. So I was very impressed with what I saw from the defense and our young rookie linebacker.
Let's take a quick look at the final stats from Thursday night's Hall of Fame game. Cowboys fell 16-3 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, unable to capitalize in the red zone. 3 turnovers by the Cowboys compared to Pittsburgh's 1. So plenty of improvements for the Cowboys to work on this week ahead of their next preseason game Friday, August 13th against the Arizona Cardinals. Quarterback Dak Prescott did not travel to Canton, Ohio. He stayed back in Oxnard, California. He's nursing a muscle strain in his throwing shoulder. So Garrett Gilbert got the start under center. Barry, how much did Gilbert solidify his role as QB2?
I think he solidified it against DiNucci and Cooper Rush. I didn't like what I saw out of Cooper and DiNucci out there, but Garrett Gilbert, he seems to be a gamer. I mean, a lot of the reports coming out of Oxnard is that he hasn't had a great camp and he's throwing multiple interceptions, but we didn't tell that here at the Pittsburgh game. I mean, he held the ball a little bit too long at some points, but for the most part, I liked his command of the offense. He had a very catchable ball, put it in great positions where only his receivers can catch it. So far, I think he solidified his number 2 quarterback backup position against those guys, but we'll see if the Cowboys bring anybody else in to challenge that.
Cooper Rush came in after Garrett Gilbert in the first half, and Ben DiNucci played the entire second half. How convinced are you that the Cowboys' third-string quarterback is currently on this roster?
Not convinced at all. 0%. I'm not impressed at what I've seen from either Cooper Rush or DiNucci. Last year, it seemed like the lights were a little bit too bright for DiNucci, and I felt like the same thing happened here today. I mean, he played a little bit better as far as how he got the ball out of his hands quicker, but overall, he just didn't seem like he knew what he was doing out there. And Cooper Rush, hey, this is a guy that's been in the league since 2017. I mean, you would feel like he would have a better game going into this one, but it seemed like the lights were a little bit too bright for him as well.
Cowboys defense coming off a historically bad year. They had the 31st run defense last season, worst goal-to-go defense in the league. They were focused on adding length and speed this offseason. How impressed were you by what you saw from the defense in this first preseason game?
I will say it looked like night and day compared to last year. I mean, these guys, there was not a lot of busted coverages out there. There were not a lot of receivers running wide open or running backs running 5 or 6 yards before they're even touched by anybody. And it seemed like that defense had a little bit more juice to it. I mean, they were flying around the ball. There were more than just one guy trying to tackle guys. They were gang tackling out there. And that's the type of mindset that you have to have for a great run defense. Everybody has to get to the ball, secondary included, and you saw that here in this first preseason game.
Special teams struggled a bit, blocked and missed field goals, a long punt return allowed. What was the most concerning part of how special teams played Thursday night?
I would have to say the long punt return. I mean, we didn't have our kicker there. He's nursing an injury right now, so we had our punter out there, Nuswander, kicking for him. So I didn't think he would do that great of a job out there, but the long punt return, that kind of bothers me a little bit, because that's punt is where you get where your defense starts. And out there, they were letting our guys from the Pittsburgh Steelers get too much going on, and we just had to stop that. We had to stop that immediately, and right now it's just not looking good for our punt team.
Head coach Mike McCarthy spoke to the media following Thursday night's Hall of Fame game. What positives did he take away from the first preseason game? We'll hear from him next.
Special edition presented by AT&T is brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you. Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Salvation Army, doing the most good. And by AT&T. This segment is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Play the new Gym 7 scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery with top prizes up to $977,000. There's a Gym 7 scratch ticket for everyone, so play today.
Preseason games might not affect the regular season record or playoffs, However, they still hold great significance, especially for the coaching staff evaluating the depth on a roster. Head coach Mike McCarthy says he was pleased with what he saw from his team's first preseason game Thursday night. Here's McCarthy and his biggest takeaways, presented by Nationwide.
I mean, preseason football, I mean, you're looking for drives to be established. You know, anytime you can get in double digits drive, I think his second one was a double digit drive. So able to move the ball. We stalled down there in the red area, but I thought Gilbert did a really good job. I mean, I'm sure there's a decision or two that, you know, we'll look at that, he may want it back, but I thought he was very productive in his work. Yeah. I mean, Mike is always around the football. I think we all recognize that, being at practice every day. He gets his hands on the ball, and just, you know, to have come up with that big play there, the fumble in the first series. So, without watching, I tried to watch as much of the replay as possible because, you're watching, from my point of view, I'm watching combinations of players, substitution patterns, and just the mechanics of, tempo in and out of the huddle, communication, line of scrimmage. I thought the defensive communication was good. The adjustments that they made were fluid. I thought that, the defense being put in some tough field positions, the way they rallied. So we didn't win the game. I think the turnover ratio clearly being -2, and the 4th and 1 was a big play as far as the way the scoring went. But I thought our guys did a lot of good things tonight. I feel good about the foundation that we're building, and just as we talked about coming in here and expressed it after the game, this is a 3-day window for us. It's we got a lot of work. We have tonight's game, and then we flip around here Saturday, and we got the Rams for in our inter-squad practice. So the way we played our players was really with both the game tonight and in the practice Saturday in mind. So I'm very hopeful and confident that we'll come out of both of these opportunities with a lot of great tape and a lot of things we could build off of.
McCarthy liking what he saw from his defense and their communication Thursday night. Right after this, former Cowboys safety Barry Church rejoins us to break down the highs and lows of one Cowboys defensive rookie and his chances of making the final roster.
This segment was brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Play the new Gems 7 scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery with top prizes up to $977,000. There's a Gem 7 scratch ticket for everyone, so play today. This segment is brought to you by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you.
Welcome back into Special Edition. I'm Dani Sureck, and I'm going to send it on over now to former Cowboys safety Barry Church, who's going to be breaking down the Cowboys' third-round draft pick cornerback Nashon Wright after his first NFL game. Barry, there was some good and some bad from Wright Thursday night.
Yeah, there was a little bit of good. There was a little bit of bad as well. But we're going to break down Nashon Wright, the third-round cornerback this year out of Oregon State. We're going to break down his press man technique against Chase Claypool. Now, this is a little bit of bad. So we're going to start with the medicine first. Right now, I don't have any problem with how he's aligned right here. He has help on the inside with a low rat player with Jalen Smith, and then he also has his high hole safety and KZ helping him out as well. So he's lined up in a head-up alignment on Chase Claypool right there. I don't mind the alignment right there. So let's let the play ride a little bit and see what his technique is at the line of scrimmage. All right, let's pause it right here. As we saw earlier in that press technique, there was a lot of reaching going on. And that happens a lot when you talk about young corners in the game when they're trying to transition from college to NFL. Right here, it was a lot of reaching by Nashon. There wasn't a lot of foot movement. And that right there will get you beat. There's a long-going saying in the NFL, slow feet, they do not eat. And right there, Nashon was doing a little bit too much reaching. His feet were kind of stuck in cement, and that allowed Claypool to get an easy outside release, and he quickly stacks Nashon as he's going down the route. Now, let's let this play a little bit. As we see Chase Poole stacking, let's pause it right there. He was stacking Nashon right there, and that's not a good position you want to be in as a corner. We call that out of phase, or when you're trailing the receiver right here. Now, the worst thing you can do as a cornerback in trail or out of phase technique is doing exactly what Nashon's doing right there, and that's looking back for the ball. When you look back for the ball, all you're doing is creating further separation from the receiver and yourself. You have to have your eyes on that receiver when you're out of phase. Now, let's let the play ride a little bit. Now, as we pause it right, keep it going a little bit. Let's pause it right here. Now there, he's in a perfect example of out of phase, but what he should have done right there, instead of looking back for the ball, what he should have done is played the receiver's hands. He should have dug his hardest to try to catch up to Claypool, waited for the receiver to put his hands out, and that's when you put your arm out there and you try to break that basket as a cornerback. But being out of phase, he looked back, created more separation from Claypool, and the receiver was able to make a great diving catch. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is not what we want to see here with our Dallas Cowboys defense. Now that we took a little bit of the medicine, the bad, let's take a little bit of the good and see what Nashon did later on in this preseason game at the Hall of Fame game against the Steelers. Right here, Nashon at the top of your screen. He's in an off technique. He's playing cover 2 right here. So now normally in cover 2, I like my corners to get their hands on the receivers to get a good jam so that safety doesn't have to work too hard to gain too much ground. But right here, he's playing an off technique. As long as he shuffles and gets that receiver back inside to his linebackers and his safeties over top, I have no problem with it. So let's see what he does as the play progresses. A little bit of motion there from the slot receiver, doesn't get him off. He walks up slowly, and as we see here, he's at the line of scrimmage. He's within that 5-yard realm, so he can get his hands on that receiver. Let's pause it right here. He can get his hands on that receiver, and what he's done right there is he's forced that receiver to go back in towards his help and let that receiver know that, oh, you can try to go in there if you want to, but we got bodies in there for you. And what he's doing a great job of doing right here, after he got his hands on the receiver, he's looking back at the quarterback. Now, in zone coverage, that's the big thing. You got to have your eyes on the quarterback. You got to be able to see when that ball's released so you can break, drive, and try to get that ball out. Now, right here, as we let the play ride a little bit, Nashon got his eyes back at the quarterback. Pause right here. He does a great job of keeping his eyes on the quarterback, planting that foot in the ground, and looks like his angle is precise to make a great tackle on the play right here. He has great technique when he pushed that receiver inside, kept his eyes back. Now he can break on the ball without any hesitation. As we let the play ride, here's a great, pause it right here, great form tackle right there. Most corners in the league, they make business decisions when it comes to there right there. I don't know if we're going to tackle him, if we're going to try to push him out of bounds, but right there did a great job. Form tackling, going at the waist, shooting his hips through the tackle. And at the end of the day, he gator rolled and came up with a body part. As we let the play ride, it was a great job of securing the tackle, coming up with a body part. You know you made that tackle when that guy's laying on the ground and you have his shoe in your foot. It was a great example of making an open field tackle and doing your techniques. Now this was a rough game for the Cowboys and their young rookie corners out there, but there was a lot of good, a lot of bad. He took his medicine. He responded well with a play right there, and hopefully we can get more of that of Wright coming into this season.
Barry, how convinced are you that cornerback Nashon Wright is on his way to making the final roster?
I'm extremely convinced that he has the opportunity to make a great leap and try to get onto this roster. I know right now he's battling with Kelvin Joseph, Anthony Brown. You also got Jordan Lewis out there battling for that second and third position. But as far as making a team, if he shines in special teams, I see no reason why he shouldn't.
Cowboys have their fair share of improvements to make ahead of their next preseason game Friday, August 13th against the Arizona Cardinals. Up next, we'll hear from Nashon Wright and some other Cowboys players on the excitement of playing in their first NFL game and the improvements they'll be focused on making this week. More Special Edition right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Ford. Built for Texas, built for you. This segment is brought to you by AT&T.
Thursday night's Hall of Fame game gave the rookies their first taste of an NFL game, a few nerves, and a whole lot of excitement. Here's linebacker Micah Parsons on his excitement after playing in his first NFL game.
Honestly, I really wasn't that nervous. I was telling somebody I was like more nervous for my college games than I was this game. I don't know, maybe it's because I felt like, when you go against guys like CD, Zeke, and Tony in practice, it makes things a lot more easier when you come out here. So I felt very prepared and ready to play. It was definitely a relief. Like now I feel like I could just use those 2 series, build on, get ready to play the scrimmage on Saturday and get ready to play next Friday too. So I know it's going to be a long year, and they telling me to slow down, but I'm ready to go right now. You know what I mean?
Definitely anxious. But football is football at the end of the day. So after we kind of got through our warm-up and came back in, kind of settled down and was just able to kind of relax when I got out there. So was definitely excited though for it to be my first game in the NFL.
You were kind of mixing up in there. I think at one point you had at least 5 tackles, maybe get a few more. I think when it's all said and done. Well, what was that like to kind of get in there and kind of?
It just felt good to set my pads and just kind of play loose. I like to fly around and make tackles, especially for my size and stature. People don't think I can, so when I go out there and do it, it's kind of like, oh.
I said this last week, and I'll say it again. It may be cliche, but my job remains the same. I'm going to go out there every day and try and be the best quarterback I can be for this football team, and wherever let the chips fall where they may. But try and control simply what I can, and only worry about that.
Just to get back into the swing of things, get hit a little bit. It's been a while since I've been hit, so you kind of forget what that's like until you take your first hit. But no, it's good. I mean, this is what the preseason's for. Get out there. Play. A lot of these guys, including myself, didn't have a preseason last year, and then the rookies this year, this is their first go-around. So it was fun.
The Cowboys' offensive line saw a familiar face out on the field Thursday night. Right tackle Lyle Collins, who's coming off a hip injury, missed the entire 2020 season. He saw a few snaps. It was only a few, but it was great to see him out there. Left tackle Tyron Smith is coming off a neck injury and dealing with some elbow tendonitis. Right guard Zach Martin coming off that calf injury. Neither of them made the trip out to Canton, Ohio. We got a great chance to look at some backup combinations along the offensive line because of that. Barry, how strong is this offensive line depth based off the Hall of Fame performance?
Well, based off that Hall of Fame performance, I'm going to say that that starting line that went out there with Gilbert, I feel like they played pretty well. They held up pretty well. They didn't let Gilbert get hit around too much. The continuity, there wasn't any free blitzers coming in or anything like that. So I felt like the first unit played pretty well. But after that, it was an extreme drop-off. I mean, we saw no running lanes. The quarterbacks were kind of running for their lives out there. So for me, I'm kind of nervous about this offensive line group, especially that backup tackle, the tackle behind Collins and the tackle behind Smith, the swing tackle. I'm wondering if we need to go get veteran presence out there as well, because I wasn't really impressed with what I saw from Brandon Knight or Terrence Steele.
We did see Ty Nsekhe, a veteran the Cowboys brought in this offseason, starting at left tackle, but you bring up a good point. We saw a lot of Brandon Knight and Terrence Steele filling in as swing tackles last season. How surprised were you that they didn't seem as strong or maybe confident or even capable because they got so much experience last year?
I'm going to say that made me a little nervous because, like you said, they played almost every game, seeing as though Lyle Collins was out the whole season and Tyron Smith, I think he missed about 2 or 3 or only played about 2 or 3 games. So for me, they had a lot of experience out there. So you would think coming in, had a full offseason, OTAs, mini camp, training camp underway, that they would be able to play a little bit better out there. But it just was lacking a little bit. They were letting a little bit too much pressure come off the edge, get after these quarterbacks. So for me, they got to step up their game, or the Cowboys are going to have to go out there and sign another veteran tackle for help.
Left guard Connor Williams moved into center after starter Tyler Biotish played his few snaps, so they gave Connor McGovern a few chances to play left guard as well. There were a few errant snaps by Williams, but then he seemed to get his footing. 3 former Dallas Cowboys will be inducted into the Hall of Fame by the end of this weekend, enshrined in football history forever. However, one of those former Cowboys has taken it upon himself to make sure this honor is permanent.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. Special edition presented by AT&T was brought to you by Ford, built for Texas, built for you. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. AT&T. And by NFL Game Pass. You'll never miss a game again. Enjoy full access to coaches' film and game replays from Week 1 to the Super Bowl. Subscribe at DallasCowboys.com/Game Pass.
Thursday night's Hall of Fame game kicked off a weekend-long celebration for some of the best to ever contribute to this league. 3 former Cowboys getting their gold jackets: safety Cliff, captain Crash Harris, head coach Jimmy Johnson, and wide receiver Drew Pearson, who took it upon himself to commemorate this honor permanently on his skin. 2 tattoos, one on each wrist. This one memorializing his Hall of Fame induction, and on the other arm, memorializing the famous Hail Mary catch back in 1975. Which tattoos do you think hurt more, this or Zeke's Feed Me tattoo on his belly he displayed last season?
I'm going to have to go with Pearson's. I mean, you got a little bone right there. That tattoo's going to hurt. Zeke had some cushion on the stomach, so I got to go with Pearson on that one.
Friday the 13th, Cowboys' next preseason game. What's your main key for them to work on?
They have to work on their backup tackle position. We know they have injury history there with Collins and Smith. I'm not so sure they like what they saw to Terrence Steele tonight. We got to address that backup tackle position.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Special Edition. For Barry Church, I'm Dani Sureck. We'll see you next time.